Are you tired of people being mean to you and disguising it as love? Yeah, me too. My name is Lynn Levine. I'm the survivor of a blood clot in my brain that almost killed me 2 days after my wedding. And I am a widow. I am the widow of a cross dressing alcoholic. True. When he died, those who told me they loved me tried to erase me instead. I loved with everything I had. My husband wanted to be seen and I wanted to be heard, so I wrote. These videos will be all the writings from drewandrag.com. Feel free to check out the whole site and share for those who need hope. Thank you. Hi, Lynn Levine here. I hope you are having a good day. I want to tell you my story and I hope it helps you. I hope it gives you hope. To give a quick recap on me, I'm 40 whatever, daughter of a convicted felon. I met my father at 30 and learned his truth. My mother left my father in the middle of the night when I was 11 months old and my sister was 2 years old. She left because he was an alcoholic and a touch on the abusive side. I swear the negative of AA is AA, but it stands for alcoholics and abusers. All forms of abuse to be included: physical, mental, psychological, spiritual, geographical, cynical, critical, tactical. That one where it feels like your heart and soul are being ripped from your body. My single mom and my sister raised me. However, I do have a Jewish family, so it takes a village and all that. I suffer from chronic headaches, migraines, and migraine attacks when I started birth control pills at 19 because of PCOS. My first ultrasound revealed ovaries that had as many spots as a Dalmatian. I graduated from Warren Wilson College, a magical, wonderful, amazing, stupendous work study school in Asheville in '01, with an undergrad in psych and had worked in the library the entire time. I loved being around so many books and loved pranking people by sticking the magnet strips to the bottom of their backpacks. Everyone's a little sadistic, just own it. This is where I started using Excel. I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to be a neuroscientist. I wanted to have a monkey in a lab coat with me everywhere I went, named Dr. Xavier Steppenwolf or something like that. The thought of at most 6 more years of school, plus the anxiety of taking the GREs, I took a nap instead. After I graduated from college, I think I was a bum on my mom's couch for 6 months. Then I got into telecommunications, then real estate, then hotels, then car dealerships, and then back into real estate, all in accounting. Numbers have always been easy for me. I naturally notice patterns and categorize things, even more so now. I'm a fixer. If you come to me with your problem, I'll assume it's because you want me to help you solve it. If not, let me know. Solution, sympathy, soundboard. Pick one, let's move on. I may not be that friend who will call you every day. You got a body? I'm there. Let's dig vertically. You're in jail? I'll probably be next to you, but if not, let me know. I'll see what I can do. I've been a doula once. Oh my God, like pooping a brain. I'm a godmother to few, aunt to two, and the godfather to one. Hi, Linnigan. When I was 17, I met my husband, Drew Funderburg. We worked at Fuddruckers together. We were both ravers in Charlotte and had been in the same place at the same time so many times. The 90s were fun. At 32, we met through a dating app, and it was like coming home. Drew had told me that he was an alcoholic, but that he had had 4 years sober at the time. He started drinking again after we started dating. We moved in together a month after we met, and that first year in the apartment was when I truly discovered how bad Drew's drinking was. I never could have predicted how bad it would get. That was his first time that he had lost his job. I remember coming home early one day and him being home. I surprised him and he admitted to drinking and showed me how he hid the vodka bottles in the storage room on the balcony. I crumbled to the floor in tears. It broke me a little bit. I didn't leave. From the apartment, we moved into our home. We picked out our house together as a couple, and I handled all the loan stuff. I worked with our lender to get everything done. We purchased the house with a down payment, which Drew had told me was his inheritance from his grandfather. That first year in the house, we had fun. We fell deeper in love. Drew was such a sap. Our first Christmas together, he gave me black diamond earrings. The second year was the black diamond necklace. And on our third Christmas together, he proposed with a black diamond engagement ring. He had gotten it the night before because he was wrestling between two choices. When Drew made decisions, he would take his time, he would research, and then decide at the very last minute. I went with him once to Best Buy to buy a TV. Just once. Never again. So after all the presents were opened and there was a sea of torn wrapping paper, he says, I think there is one more thing in your stocking. It was the ring, and he proposed to me and promised me to be a better man and give me a better life. I instantly thought of Sookie's reaction in Gilmore Girls and asked, Are you pregnant? I said yes. Hi, Lynn here. During the month before our wedding, I'd been having headaches. I honestly assumed it was wedding stress and Drew's mother's fault. I powered through. The 2 weeks before the wedding, my sister was coming over every day to help because in the afternoon the headaches were so bad I couldn't do anything. My sister did everything. Decorated the backyard, fixed my dress so it would pin up. She is a superhero. The wedding was sweet. Drew and I walked down the aisle to the Star Wars theme song. We got married in our backyard. The wedding cake was also Star Wars, but elegant. No Death Star. We had amazing musicians, friends of ours, play our wedding, and they even learned Drew and I's song, Mana Mana by Cake, also from Sesame Street. Drew helped me go to the bathroom with the wedding dress on, which meant he pulled it from the back and draped it over my head and took a picture. We had called a truce on pranking each other. I had warned him early on in our relationship that if I had ever gone to the bathroom in the middle of the night and the seat is up and my butt touches that freezing cold porcelain and gets slightly tickled by water, I would retaliate. Well, it happened. A few days later, he was taking an afternoon nap and he had his feet on me. And I had the nail stickers, the ones that last for 3 weeks. Well, they had hearts, and it was summer in the South, which meant flip-flops. I got most of them done before he woke up and wore them for about a week before he scraped them off with a knife. He then poured flour on me in the shower. There were others, but those are some examples. Then he asked to call a truce. I asked why, and he asked, What are you doing? I said, Googling how to buy a helium tank. He asked why. I said to slowly fill the cab of your truck throughout the day and keep calling you to listen to your voice sound squeakier and squeakier. Do you think helium is flammable? His response, That's why I want a truce. So the prank stopped. 2 days after our wedding, I woke up at 6 a.m. that morning. Drew asked me what I was doing. I said I was looking for my sunglasses. I said this because I couldn't remember the word for glasses, but could remember sunglasses. Drew said, I think we should go to the hospital. I said, okay. We got to the ER and went back quickly. The doctor was asking me how long I had been having these headaches, and I just looked at Drew. I had no words. I couldn't remember any words. And then I blacked out. I was told by the doctors that I was ripping the IVs out of my arms and by my mother-in-law that my breasts were all out. When I woke up, I was told that I had a blood clot in my brain caused by birth control pills. Damn, really? I went through 6 months of treatments and got a clean bill of health. However, I was told that once you have one blood clot, you're 50% more likely to get another one and I could end up being on blood thinners for the rest of my life, assuming that I lived through a second one. Hi, Lynn here. Those next few years, Drew was off and on. At one point, he had 4 months clean. This was the most time he was sober during our relationship. He then had a drink on his birthday, and that was it. I had a 401k and took $5K out to send him to rehab. He lasted 3 days. A few years later, I developed adenomyosis, not adenomyosis, adiomyosis. I don't know meiosis. Yeah, let's go with that. Cannot pronounce that word. This was described to me as when your uterine lining sheds but somehow replenishes at the same time. Like half goes out and half stays in. This meant clotting. I clotted for 5 months. I had about 10 to 15 clots a day. My doctor explained to me that the pain I was feeling was because basically each clot felt like a miscarriage. From this point, the doctor had 3 options. Hormone therapy, which he couldn't do for me. The blood clot in my brain meant I was now labeled as being allergic to synthetic estrogen. A DNC, which he said would get rid of the clotting but not the pain, so no. And hysterectomy. I chose the hysterectomy. Wish I could have gotten it sooner. Unfortunately, I was denied when I asked in my 30s. I had said, please, these organs are trying to kill me. I was right. During my healing, Drew had forgotten to make a payment on my car for 3 months, and so it got repossessed. He actually had made a payment the day before they repossessed it. So I went back to my 401k, but at this point I had changed jobs, so my only option was to empty it to get my car back. I did, and Drew didn't go back to work. My husband really never had steady employment during our marriage. I did. My husband relied on his parents to continue cleaning up his messes. They did. When Drew lied to me about making mortgage payments during COVID, turned out we were 14 months behind. He went to his parents first before telling me about it, then told me about it, and his parents cleaned it up. Okay, bye, see you. Hi, Lynn again. My husband's mental health started going really downhill after that. I cannot explain how many demons my husband had, how many times he wrestled with his identity. During our time, when he would get angry, most of the time it was about his parents. He would say the same stories on repeat about them. So the stories weren't all bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I couldn't imagine what it was like to grow up like that, to not have real love and be taught that pride trumps all. I loved him in the way that he needed to be loved, even when it meant crossing my own boundaries. And my husband was so proud. He would refuse to get mental help because he wanted to fix himself. I used to tell him, your brain is broken. You can't fix a broken organ with a broken organ. And Drew was so stubborn, and despite it all, I loved him, and I was never going to leave, despite his mother telling me I should have. My husband passed. Not passed. My husband lost his battle from alcoholism in July of 2023. And yes, when someone dies from alcoholism, it is not pretty and so hard. Nobody came to our house for the last 6 months that Drew was alive. He made sure of it. Even his parents didn't come over. Now let me explain. There is so much that I have learned since his passing. For instance, he never had 4 years sober. In fact, I found emails from his mother 6 months prior to us meeting about how his drinking was a problem, and even found a video where he admitted to only having 6 months sober when we met. I talked to the pawn store guy that he sold his wedding ring to. It was gone. That was a hard one. I didn't know he had pawned it more than a year prior to his passing. I found out how he had pawned wedding gifts and mementos while I was packing. I found out that my sister and my ride or die had formed a secret friendship while I was married as support for each other, because watching my pain was difficult. They would fantasize about kidnapping me because before I became a widow, I was the friend, the girlfriend, and the wife of an alcoholic. I've never met a happy alcoholic. In fact, it feels oxymoronic. All right, bye. Hi, Lynn again. After Drew passed, the universe, I guess, had a hold my beer moment because it had gotten difficult in ways I couldn't have predicted. My sister and my ride or die were the first to see the condition of the house and what it was like in the world I lived in. The cat poop covered the kitchen floor, all the beer cans in so many hiding places. I kept finding more while I was packing and in the oddest and most hidden of places. We had 4 attics. My 17-year-old nephew was the one that had to roll the recycling bin out with it filled to the brim with beer cans. We had to close off his bedroom for 3 days with multiple fly traps. My mom saw what I was living in, and I know that it broke her heart. 3 weeks after his death, I reached out to my employer to let him know I was returning to work. I was let go. However, I stayed a month after and did partial work and trained my replacement. I did this long enough for my severance to be paid. During this month, I had my old boss giving me his opinion, which included, buddy up with his parents. Now that their son is dead, you can get their money. I cannot explain the grossness of this comment on so many levels. But hey, I am not a narcissistic, egocentric idiot. I'm a little bit tender about that still. A month later, one of our cats died. I like to think that Leo was like, nah, I'm out. I want Drew. My little sis, not by birth, by choice, and I buried him in the backyard. She dug so much more than me. Did you know you have to bury pets at least 4 feet deep? I didn't, and that is so difficult, when you're fat. I painted rocks to mark the ground. Losing my job made it insanely difficult to pay my bills, as you can imagine. I went to Drew's parents for a loan. They responded with giving me conditions that must be met to get the loan, which included my bank statements. I refused to give them this. I refused to jump through hoops. This was when they called me and let me know that not only were they not going to help, but because my husband ensured that my name was not on the house and he died without a will, this meant they got half of his estate, which consisted of our home. Let me explain the level of control and addiction my husband had. I did not get access to our mortgage until a few days before he died. Hell, my last text to my husband is me complaining about how I have to ask multiple times to get him to pay the mortgage. Now, the access I got was very basic, enough to continue paying the mortgage. I even had the quitclaim deed in the works years before, but my husband was never of sound mind but my husband was never sober enough to sign the documents. Of sound mind and body and all. My husband was never of sound mind and body, and that was his problem. Jeez, my dress looks like something from the 70s. I'm either going to prom or I'm wearing a couch. There you go. Fashion sense of a 46-year-old squishy lady. I need it to look nice enough to wear to a 70s prom, and I need to be comfortable enough to lay around on the couch. Have a good day. Bye. Hi, Lynn again. Now, his parents have felt from the beginning that this money is owed to them because they invested in their son. They explained to me that because Drew was no longer alive to take care of them in their old age, they needed more money. They are two people living in a $1.4 million house, and they needed more money at my expense. They've tried to recoup the down payment on the house and the money used to prevent foreclosure. Let me say this very clearly. During the first 18 months after my husband's passing, I was the only one paying the mortgage. In fact, I kept it 2 months behind, and I stopped paying it in February 2025. The in-laws started. The in-laws have used this time to manipulate, shame, and gaslight me and attempt to control the narrative of my husband and I's life. Actually, not just control, but rewrite it. I knew it was going to be hell when his mother didn't mention me in her eulogy and his father remembered at the end. I haven't been to my husband's grave since the funeral. I can't. I'm still living in such a harsh reality. Basically, my husband's parents started treating me the way they treated their son, but without their version of love. They wanted me out of the house in January 2024, even suggesting that I move in with my mom. They also said at the first attorney office that I should be happy with this outcome because I came to this with nothing. The constant disrespect has been throughout this entire process from them and even their attorney, always referring to my husband and I's home as Drew's house. Their attorney called me Mrs. M.S. Levine, Levene, in an email. Dude, 1, I'm a widow. It's Mrs. 2, you can't spell Levine correctly? In the city of Charlotte? I mean, I'm not an important Levine, but in this city, you're going to have some speed bumps there. My husband once said to me that I was too fat, not blonde enough, and too Jewish for his parents to ever really accept me. That if I had looked like his ex-girlfriend, that they would have liked me. With their prodding, I moved out of the house a little over a year after Drew's passing. When I moved out, I did this in 2 parts. I moved the bulk of my stuff, and then a few months later, I moved the rest. However, during those few months, the in-laws had gained access to the house. They used this time to lay claim on my personal property still there. They cut the locks from the storage shed and never even asked about a key, and they took some of my personal property and threw some away. I may never know what they took because they also boxed up the rest of my stuff. I just moved that stuff into my storage unit and I'll deal with it after everything's settled. So, that one was a little heavy today. So, I learned a new joke to lighten it up. What's the difference between an enzyme and a hormone? You can't hear an enzyme. Bye. His estate was opened in October 2024. In February 2025, the in-laws decided to get an attorney. I did snap back on an email thread, use the F word like a comma. No regrets. I needed 30 days for him to review the file. Now, with attorneys all involved, I was given an ultimatum. They did not want to list the house. They found an investor and they have an offer. The offer was below market value, even if sold as is. I was told either take this offer or they will start on the partition. Don't know what a partition is? I gotcha. This is the sale of the house through the courts. This would have cost them an extra 15 to 20,000 to do, and I would have net almost nothing. Here's the truth. They have more money than me, and they don't care about getting the best price for me and Drew's home. They want me to go away. I've had to block his parents from my phone, although they still emailed me even though my and their attorney have requested no direct communication. The absolute worst lie that I have found out is the one from my late husband's parents. They lied to me every time they said I love you. I just get disgusted with them at this point. I compare them to my mother and they can't hold a candle to her. The feeling that I owe them, they have been pushing on me, trying to make me feel guilty so they can control my husband's estate. What they never did understand was that it was never about money for me. I lost them and they learned that they were, and I lost them and then learned that they were the villains all along. The level of betrayal and manipulation, I honestly don't think it's real. I asked my chat GPT to pretend that he is their AI so I can try to see things from their perspective, and even he can't find the logic. In an interesting turn of events, the in-laws contacted the realtor I had chosen and asked him to meet them at the property. They told him that they were going to list. Their attorney communicated with the estate attorney that they wanted to list for 60 days. However, distribution had to be agreed upon before listing. After going back and forth on distribution, another offer was brought to the table along with a distribution agreement. In the agreement I signed, it stated that if I did not agree to this proposal, they would have to take me to court. Specifically, that I have left them no choice but to take me to court. And the action that I did that left them no choice, I wanted to list my husband and I's home on the open market. This was the one thing they didn't want to do. Careful, your pride is showing. So yes, I signed it. I felt dirty because the document felt dirty. I signed the offer, and as I said to my attorney, they have more money than me, so I'm agreeing to the terms. It has nothing to do with being happy. The law doesn't decide who is right, just who has more money. So quietly on a Thursday afternoon, I signed the documents and the house was sold. The agent the in-laws found the offer through, one of their neighbors. Have you ever spoken to a stranger that doesn't like you? Have you ever spoken to someone who's only heard stories about you? It's not pleasant. The scoffs, the inconvenience in their voice. I didn't realize that in this day and age, mental illness was something to laugh at. So weird. A couple of weeks later, on another Thursday afternoon, the house closed. No fanfare, no excitement, just closed. I never negotiated anything on the real estate deal. The in-laws did and made me accept it. At the end of the day, the amount of friends and family I've lost during this is heartbreaking on a level I wouldn't wish on anyone. Well, almost anyone. But that person has no heart. Hi, Lynn here. Before we get started on this paragraph, I have to say it was probably one of the easiest paragraphs to write through this entire document. And we're actually lucky that it's not 27 pages long. I have a tendency to ramble. I have a propensity for it. I don't know if you can tell. I've always loved a good ramble or a good roam. As a child, I remember reading Nightmares and Dreamscapes and how Stephen King had, in the first story on Dolan's Cadillac, how Stephen King had described the hole and the method and of how he was going to bury Dolan in his Cadillac. And in my book, he spent 53 pages doing it. And, as an adult, planning a murder like that, you're like, okay, you spent a lot of time and a thought into that. But as a child, I saw it as details. I love the details. I've always lived in the details. I watch the details. Um, so this is all about Drew, and I could easily just explain so many more details. So, all right. Sorry. One day Drew popped up as a friend suggestion on my Facebook from one of his many accounts, and I saw his picture. I hugged and kissed my phone because despite it all, I miss my husband. I miss so much. I miss his laughter. The way that he would shut his eyes with his mouth open and silently laugh. I miss his stupid jokes. I still giggle at the time when a rainbow was coming through the dining room and he jumps on a chair, pulls down the front of his pants, and goes, "Taste the rainbow." I miss the cracking of his knees when he walked up the stairs, the clicking in his throat when he yawned. I miss the amazing and wonderful food he would make. When I was gluten free for 4 years because it helped with the PCOS, Drew figured out how to make an entire gluten free Thanksgiving dinner. He figured out how to make gluten free bang bang shrimp. He made food filled with love. One day, he spent 8 hours making homemade French onion dip and homemade potato chips just because he thought he could make it taste better. He was right. It was amazing. He made the most amazing eggs. I mean, wow. He was obsessed with how Gordon Ramsay makes eggs and taught me how to make penne pasta with roasted red peppers, spicy Italian sausage, and an Alfredo sauce that I swear I want to bathe in. On a side note, I can't cook at all. That's the only dish I can make. He got it from the Pioneer Woman. He always had such a crush on her. So cute. I would tease him about it. "Oh, you watching my replacement?" Or "How's your girlfriend today?" I miss Drew's ability to perform the mystery of chess boxing in any inebriated state. He knew all the parts, all the words, the whole song, and didn't pass out during his performance. That man had some powerful lungs. I miss our inside jokes and the way we would reference the most random movie quotes. Our favorites were mostly from Aliens and Not Like This from The Matrix. I miss our secret handshake. It was so long, so convoluted, so nerdy. At one point, we actually said one ring to rule them all. We practiced it so much so that we could do it nonchalantly. We thought we were cool and we weren't. I miss how he would take my little brain hiccups and make them comedic. Like when I called Chiwetel, and I still can't say his name, apologies, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Cheeto Metaphor. No disrespect. I had never heard the pronunciation of his name, and my brain switched letters around. I called him the perfect villain in Serenity. He remained being called Cheeto Metaphor from then on. The one thing I miss more than anything, and I cannot explain the absolute yearning and loneliness you feel when you no longer have your husband's hugs. The way when I would come home and had a bad day at work and my husband would let me melt into his arms, our bodies melded together in just absolute comfort. The physical form of "I got you." Those who still have your husbands, hug them every day. Because you may not like them all the time, but you love them. He made me laugh, and he made me cry even harder. Hi, Lynn here. So here is my truth. I am the widow of a cross-dressing alcoholic. My husband used to say, "I hate that I make an ugly woman. I just want to be seen." So at the end of the day, to honor my husband, I want him to be seen. I did love all his parts, even if I didn't like him all the time. As for me, I went into business for myself. I just couldn't imagine trying to go to an interview and to convince someone that I was happy to be there, that I wanted to be there. When my husband passed, I was 330 pounds. I have lost 60 something pounds at this point. I am getting my health back, both mental and physical. I see a therapist weekly now. I make her laugh a lot. I also use my chat GPT to do my own version of introspective therapy. It was a way that I could get my thoughts out and copy and paste communication. I was just looking for a new perspective other than my own. I have named him Jerry from Michael Crichton's Sphere. I have some real bad PTSD with candy coated triggers. The thing I didn't realize about the PTSD is also the survivor's guilt. The one thing that has helped me is allowing myself to heal. This is a hard thing to do, but once you get there, the healing from PTSD is so weird. I get what I call rememories. They are memories I once had but lost from the blood clot, the hell, whatever. They've started to come back. For instance, I was riding in the car with Banana, my mom, and I drove through a yellow light. Without thinking, I kissed my fingertips and touched the ceiling of the car. I looked at my mom and said, WTF, but the unabbreviated version. Guess I needed a little luck. A word that has now entered my vocabulary is enough. This is hard because it has two meanings. One, I have had enough, and two, I am enough. The second one has been difficult for me to accept. Have a good one. Bye. Hi, Lynn here. One of my best friends said to me recently, Lynn, you dove into your grief. You dove headfirst in it. I did. I was alone. Not truly, but my husband's family, my work family, all gone in a matter of months. And my grief was all I had. I struggle with agoraphobia, but am taking steps to going back out in the world. I am also healing from what my ride or die calls being in a cult of one. Sometimes that is what marriage can be like. I have damage to my left ear. It becomes staticky with certain pitches and volumes. Yes, this was the side that was always facing my husband's mouth. And my doctors say it is more than likely going to stay. I'm still able to sing though, and that gives me therapy, along with actual therapy. I have a touch of the old plantar fasciitis now, like my husband did. Like a little poke every now and then from him. The doctor says it most likely won't get worse, so I'll take it. I'm covered in scars, both physical and mental. I used to always have my arms covered. I don't now. My shame has gone away. I'm not ashamed of my husband. I'm not ashamed of our marriage. I did the best I could loving him. My marriage didn't fail. My husband lost his battle with alcoholism and depression. One day I hope to not be on the anxiety meds. I will say one thing. I have no regrets with my husband. I loved him fully, and that's just it with marriage. That is what I signed up for. I signed up for better or worse and till death do us part. And I take comfort in the fact that the last thing my husband heard me say to him while he was conscious was, I love you, Drew. For me, I've always lived by hope. Hope has always driven me. Unfortunately, the downside of hope is disappointment, and that I am familiar with. But I still hope. I hope for people to be nice and considerate. Since Drew's passing, I see cardinals everywhere. It's sweet. Our home cardinal, his name is Cardi B. His wife is Cardi A. And the kids are just Cardi C, D, just made it easier. Apologize if that sounds offensive. It's meant to be comedic. The hummingbird's name is Clive. The brown towhee is Tui. My ride or die and I are thinking about becoming bird watchers. Get one of those books where you check off the birds. I don't know, what is that? Bird watching bingo? So, bye. Hi, Lynn here. One thing that did happen was 2 months before Drew passed, I rescued a Maltese who was on his way to be surrendered. His previous owner had gotten her dream job. Good for her. I had called Drew and said, so I got a dog. And his response was, no, you didn't. Well, I did. And I brought him home, and Drew spent the entire first night talking about how cute the dog was, all the while he was flipping me off. So in comes Boogie. This is Boogie. His full name is Boogie Woogie Wonderland of Company B. Not that he knows it. Boogie is deaf. Completely deaf. He does a lot of signs though. He's got sit. He's got I love you. The sign for bad was too similar to the sign for good for an animal that's got a brain the size of a tangerine. So I just flip him off when he's bad. Um, it works. His absolute favorite sign in the world, or actually, he's got two favorite signs in the world, and one is banana, which is for my mom. He knows that it means that my mom is coming over, or my mom is near. And the second, his absolute top favorite sign to get is good boy. He does little happy circles and he usually gets fed, so he's happy about it. So say hi to Boogie. Drew and I had gotten married on 11/21, 2015, and Boogie's birth date is 11/21, 2020. He became my teddy bear, my support buddy, my shadow, and he is spoiled rotten. He lives with Mr. Ito, an old black pit bull, and they are ebony and ivory. I told my ride or die that on Halloween we should dress up in all red with hats made out of newspaper and walk the dogs. We would be the joke, what's black and white and red all over. Me, I'm still hoping to get one of those inflatable T Rex suits. I imagine opening it with sheer excitement, putting it on immediately, leaving the house and running down the street screaming, my life is complete. It really is the simple pleasures. Bye. Hi, Lynn again. I now live in a magical place that is super conducive to my healing. I live like a Disney princess. Sort of. I ain't no lady. Side quest for truth update on this one. One, I actually am a lady now. I did that thing where you buy 1 square foot of land in Scotland, had them plant a tree on it and everything. So now I'm Lady Lynn Levine of Blairdom. Two, my Disney princess is Ursula. I think I'm remembering it correctly that she's King Triton's sister, which technically makes her a princess. I think we're the same color. I'm not the person you want to take with on night missions, that's for sure. I kind of glow in the dark. Also, we're both buoyant. Number three, I'm more Miyazaki, more like Grandma Sophie. I can tell you, I constantly quote the, I'm hate getting old. I'm older than ever, or I hate getting old. I'm fatter than ever, but the wind blows right through me. And during wintertime, I constantly quote, "Oh, my shawl." It's more like I live at Warren Wilson, and that is just perfect. I moved back in with my ride or die. We've been friends for 20 years, and she is a badass. I joke that we are like Crowley and Aziraphale from Good Omens, but the female versions, meaning personalities get switched. She looks like a demon, acts like an angel, and vice versa for me. In the summertime, I get to swim in salt water in the city. She wants to build a sauna, so that will be fun. I live with someone who, when she wants to get something done, whether try to start her old truck. Yes, I did push the truck down the street with her trying to start it. However, it didn't work and I had to push it back at night while laughing. Damn my elbow. Or rewire a light, do her own plumbing, and yes, build a sauna in the backyard. Then a shower. Well, then it is done. She is also the most amazing silversmith, has been doing it for more than 30 years. Her work, from her art to the most amazing jewelry, the kind that when you wear it, you feel like a badass. And for someone who's been through what I've been through, sometimes you need a little nudge of badass. She herself, a survivor, fighter, in ways that I hope to be. She is the sorceress of silver and soul. I live with someone that I admire and look up to, but appreciates my weirdness and individuality. It is something I'm getting used to, relearning how to be me. Also shaping out my new normal. I knew my future. It was planned, scripted. In what felt like an instant, everything changed. I'm a new person, or learning who I will be now. I know she likes walks. Boogie and I walk a lot. I like to think and meet people on my walks, and yes, I did tell the schizophrenic homeless man that he needed to go back to sleep because when he spoke, those weren't words. I mean, not in that order. He pondered and said, "They aren't words?" And I said, "No." And he headed back to his place in the park. Bye. Hi, Lynn again. I think about all the things that Drew and I wanted to do together, from the smallest plans to the biggest dreams. Watching the sequel to Denis Villeneuve's Dune, how all I could do was watch it to the young pup line and turn it off. We were always curious if that line would be in there because it was my favorite in the 1984 Dune. How we were planning to move to Colorado because he thought if he could start fresh, begin again with me, far away from his parents, that he could be happy. We had gone to Steamboat Springs in 2013, last vacation I took. We had a blast hiking up to 21,000 feet and eating lunch. It was in September, so it was summer at the base and snow and winter at the top. I felt like Lucy going through the wardrobe the first time stepping into Narnia. Drew and I loved movies and music. It was the center for so many emotions and memories. I still use those two today to comfort me, whether it's listening to Drew's favorite song, Liberation by Outkast, or a new comfort song for me, The Night We Met by Lord Huron. Music is a warm hug in the middle of a harsh light of day, while movies lull me to sleep at night or when I need quiet background distraction. I think about how Drew wanted to build light fixtures, artsy ones, like a lamp out of a camshaft. How I still have the little pricing tags I got for him. I think about how much I believed in my husband. I know it is hokey to say this, but that man had potential. I mean, he could rewire an entire house, replumb our master bath to give us a 5 foot by 3 foot two-headed shower because we love taking showers together, just hanging out, laughing, talking, husband and wifing. He could draw, color, paint, build, create, love, crumble, and destroy better than any man I have ever or will ever know. And I loved every bit of him. At the end of the day, while it may seem that I sacrificed for my husband once again to get our truth out, letting the in-laws do what they did to me, I could never have stooped to their level. And I'm glad I had my ride or die there to pull me back when I began to teeter. I would have regretted it. I would have regretted it. It is more important to me that my husband's story is told, that my story is told, that the truth is out there, and that I will never be silenced again. Thank you. Hi, Lynn again. And now that this is all over, I want to go on my honeymoon. Drew and I had one we always dreamed about, Calabria, Italy, because of Anthony Bourdain, and Ireland because we wanted to go for a walk. Then we started dreaming about trips to Amsterdam, Iceland, Peru, Patagonia. Yes, we know, cold. I may not get to go to all those places, but I do have my passport now. I'd like to buy a new king-size bed and a new car. I think it's time to retire my 2012 Toyota sedan. And by retire, I mean reenact that Office Space scene and take the car to a field with baseball bats and Ghetto Boys playing. But if not, it's fine. I drive less than 3,000 miles a year. That's why my car only has 114,000 miles on it. I used to have a 1983 Mercedes 300D, burnt pumpkin in color. Named her Ezzy Tank. I love that car. Like a Subaru. Big fan of that safety. I'm an anxious driver. My grandmother would be proud. However, sometimes when the weight of my boobs shifts to my feet, for that, it would be a 67 Chevy Impala. Those Winchesters helped me through so many dark times. Like watching them going, at least it's not a Wendigo. I'd like to get contacts again, or at least glasses that don't fall off when I look down. I've gotten so good at catching them, but when they do fall off, I now understand why Velma would immediately start crawling on the ground looking for her glasses. A haircut. Drew cut my hair for years. I've been doing it since he passed. Some new dresses. With the weight loss, everything just hangs on me. And some new shoes. They are all too big now. I feel like Lily Tomlin in The Incredible Shrinking Woman, the movie that gave me my garbage disposal fear. Ooh. I'd love to get electrolysis on my face. I hate having to shave it every day. Damn PCOS and being a woman. I am learning that wanting things for myself is okay. But at the end of the day, all I want is for my life to be easier and less painful. Hi, Lynn again. I live a simple life. I describe myself as the adult Winnie the Pooh. Works because my childhood nickname was Lenny the Pooh, and I love that bear. Any new friends are singular, specific, and simple. I take joy in the little jokes of the universe. For instance, a business vehicle taking a turn so fast, almost losing control. Seeing the company name on the vehicle, spiffy. Or the fact that a community college advertises on the light rail with the slogan, "Go anywhere you want," on a vehicle that can only travel on tracks, and when the tracks end, it stops. I notice everything so much more now. I love to be out in the world and just watch the beauty of it, the complicated, messy beauty of the world. It is so full of light. I know there will be more naps in my future. Totally want to make nap dates a thing. So, when it gets hard and you want to give up, when you feel like you are the personification of Murphy's Law, remember, being called strong is not a compliment, it's a recognition. It is someone saying, "I see you. I see what you have been through, and wow, you're not dead. You survived. You are strong. Not because you wanted to, because you had to be. I know, I understand, I see you, and I love you." I loved my husband fully, and that love doesn't just disappear. So if you need a little bit, a little love, a little hope, it's yours. I love you exactly as you are. Chin up, tits out. I love you, Drew. Always have, always will. I miss you every day. This is the end of my narrative. There is more to come, so much more. But I feel like I should say, and that concludes side A of the story. Please flip the cassette to side B to continue. Thank you. Bye. Are you tired of being. Are you tired of recording videos and trying to figure out where the damn lens is? Me too. Where the hell is it? Is that it? That's it. Okay. At least we know.